All right, we're going.
All righty. So, learning environments. What were your thoughts on the eval?
I feel like the learning environment was one of my weakest areas, and I agree because the interactive technology piece, I did not have students engaged in technology.
Mm-hmm.
To Even though I used the smart board to show a video, there wasn't any interaction on their part with that. So I agree with that. I already knew I was going to get a one, but it was already recorded. I wasn't stressing it. I couldn't stress it, rather.
Okay.
The nonverbal and verbal communication, I think, is definitely something that we have.
Okay.
But the piece where it's responsive to family, I just don't know how I'm going to bring family and culture into nonverbal and verbal communication. So I'm not stressing that one either.
Okay.
The managing of the classroom environment, I feel like the students are self-managed. And because they have good discernment and make good choices in my room, I don't have to do a lot of correction with this group of students.
Gotcha.
I will say for the spacing of the room and the desk, I feel like my space is limited. I feel like my classroom is old and antiquated. So I try to maximize with what I have. I have expressed that the learning environment is super important to student outcomes and success. And I really feel like if we have more mobile desks, that chairs and desks versus the type of desk I have, which is something that I don't even remember using when I was a kid. That's stuff like my mom used back when she was in high school 50 years ago. But that's what we have. And I feel like the desks are just not conducive to different learning styles as well, because even if I had a desk by itself and the student may not want a chair, they could stand as long as they're doing the work and being constructive, but I don't have that ability. So I really feel like that's something that I've noticed and I'm big on, but I have to go ahead and press on. But the student-centered classroom, like I said, I think that ties in with the managing of the learning environment.
Okay.
And collaborating for a safe, positive learning climate. I think those three all come together. Because if the classroom management style is in place, I think it can be student-centered and it can be safe.
Absolutely.
So I really feel like with this lesson, I think it was a great lesson in different aspects of math into what we're learning and how it could give a real world application, especially for those who like art.
Yeah.
But I really feel like the mark could have been better. Of course, I don't think it was a 4 at all, but I really feel like it's hard to meet some of these things, especially when it's talking about family and communication. But like I said, the technology is fine, but global communities, that's just I don't feel like the rubric is aligned to math teachers. I really feel like it's more aligned to an ELA teacher.
Interesting. Okay.
Or someone that is history based. But when you're doing math, there's so much we have to consider, especially the ability to process and think and give students an opportunity to get to that level.
Okay.
In order to bring in the technology. I feel like technology should substitute learning, shouldn't take place of learning.
Interesting. Okay.
So that's just my view and my perspective. So a lot of the times, because Common Core is fairly new, the district has changed their curriculum every year except for this year. This is the first year
that they've stuck with something more than once. Yeah.
Right. So usually the district where we're in, they will change math curriculum annually.
Yeah.
You really don't give students an opportunity to grasp what is the expectation of the material that is being used.
Right.
And this year, the material that we're now using it for 2 years, but it's I don't want to say it's a rigorous program. I want to say it is designed for higher order thinking to already have been in place.
So I'm going to jump in.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with the managing learning environment. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Your kids are not behavior issues, right? They're not I'm standing on the desk while you're teaching, or I'm talking while you're talking,
Mm-hmm.
or I am just going to flat out be disrespectful. Like, those aren't your kids. However, the rubric talks about self-motivation.
Mm-hmm.
So how are you rewarding them throughout the lesson? How are you being in a place where you are kind of guiding their behavior positively um,
Mm-hmm.
throughout the lesson? Because there are times when I don't know her name, but you were up at the board and you were talking about the whole pixel measurement.
Mm-hmm.
And her back was to you the entire time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I think she turned around kind of a little bit later. If there were something in place, and I know at my school we have a school-wide behavior management tool, like Live School,
Mm-hmm.
where it rewards positive behavior. You know, you can give points, and when you are not on task or you're not showing soaring behavior, that's what we call it, we deduct points.
Mm-hmm.
So managing the learning environment is not always about the negative, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
also about the positive. How am I keeping them positively engaged? Is it by, a point system, tally
Mm-hmm.
marks on the board? Is it that I reward them after, the whole week of learning? Do I reward them instantaneously, by doing things like, what is keeping them motivated throughout the lesson?
Mm-hmm.
Is the piece that I really kind of want you to kind of focus on. The other piece, well, as we've already kind of talked about the interactive technology piece, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting that you say you feel like technology should kind of like substitute and not take the place of. But I want you to think of technology enhancing. Thinking of your Cindy's, your, I don't want to mispronounce his name,
Valeria.
Valerio. Thinking of them, right there, and I'm thinking of them because there are two ends of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
Valerio is very strong. He, to me, is the student teacher.
Mm-hmm.
He knows what you're talking about. He dives in it like head on. You probably gave 3 parts of the instruction. He's like, I got it, right?
Right.
Whereas Cindy, she needs time to process it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
She needs time to kind of look at it, take it all in. There are so many things and resources out there technology-wise that can help both of them enhance what you're doing, so that way you're not doing the heavy lifting. For example, I know I put in there Mentimeter. Screencasting. Screencasting is something where Cindy can take a picture of the work, right, on her cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
And if she has a screencasting app, and some of them are free, she can actually record herself explaining the work.
Mm-hmm.
And she can listen back to herself, figure out if that's really what she wants to say. And she could send it to Valerio, where Valerio then, as her peer, can listen, watch what she's doing, and give her feedback or instant feedback. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So it hasn't substituted anything. It hasn't taken away the learning, but it has enhanced her ELL skills as far as talking and writing and explaining. You're getting that student discourse piece in there, where in Valerio feels like he is a leader anyway, where he can kind of give her that feedback as well, right? And it's kind of like a presentation piece. Now, you could obviously as well get the screencast, where you can also kind of jump in and give your feedback as well, but it empowered both of them to be more student-centered in their learning. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want you to think of technology as a substitute. There's so many, and I can email you a lot of different programs that they can use to kind of help with that processing piece. Because I agree with you, math, it is a process. Math, it is a step 1, there's a step 2, there's a step 3. And there's technology out there that can help get that across. So I don't want you to give too much up on technology usage yet. The student-centered piece. This part for me, when it comes to planning a student-centered classroom, that was spot on. You definitely understand how to plan for a student-centered classroom. You had the kids in groups. You provided the framework for the lesson. You understood that some of my kids are into art. You understood some of my kids struggle here and there. So that's how you built your lesson, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the instructing piece of the student-centered classroom that is falling short. When it is student-centered, the teacher is not visible. The teacher should not be heard or seen. The teacher literally is the facilitator. And that's difficult for us teachers. That's difficult for ELA teachers, history, science, and math teachers. Okay. It's teachers across the board. It's difficult for us to take the back seat and say, go ahead and slide. So I want you to think of student-centered being, thinking of Valerio. Did I say his name right? I hope I did.
It starts with a B, not a V. Valerio. Yeah.
Okay. So thinking of him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And really scripting out in your lesson questions that you know that they're going to answer. Thinking about not the technology, but the key terms that they may not know, like pixel, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe giving some pictures and things of that nature. But mm-hmm. How could you have just kind of give them I don't want to say a packet, but you would have given them all that they needed and said, in each group, you have a project manager. Valerio's the project manager over here. Mm-hmm. Cindy, you're the project manager over there. You have 30 minutes and give them 30 minutes to do the first half, or 10 minutes to identify what the formula is, or identify the the problem area, what you need to solve, and then we'll discuss it as a group. That would have moved you out, so that way you're just kind of circling the groups and hearing the conversation. Mm-hmm. You may have a grading system as far as participation, as far as how many times did I hear Cindy ask a question, okay. or did I hear each person in the group ask a question and answer a question? Mm-hmm. Did I see each member in the group writing something down? Mm-hmm. Did I see each member in the group actively engaged, or did I see them researching information? Like, that would be kind of what you're grading them on, but you're allowing them to just really dive deep and give their own background knowledge and their own perception of what's happening. And then after that 10 minutes, then you guys can come as a group and talk about it, and you can give them a little bit more information to go into the next 10 minutes. That is a instructing piece of the student-centered classroom.
Okay. I like that.
So the next steps that kind of go with that is just planning those guiding questions for the students at the groups. So if you tell them they have 10 minutes to figure out what the dimensions are for the artwork to be on the building, and you give them that 10 minutes, you'll have the questions for them that's already there for them to ask one another and to answer as a group. And and they just need one copy. So that means one person needs to be the scriber, mm-hmm. and write it, write it down. That way that gets everybody involved.
Right.
Also, in the next steps, I said to choose, a student to be your student teacher and to explain the portion of the work. Like, I keep going to Valerio because out of all the videos that I've seen, I don't think he's had an incorrect answer, and mm-hmm. he's been able to write down his explanation. I would love for him to now talk his explanation out. So if he's strong enough to write it, which is very difficult, right? If he's mm-hmm. strong enough to write it, I would love to hear how he kind of explains it to his peers and get feedback from them. The other piece, again, the interactive digital tool, we kind of talked about that. I'll send you some resources that they could use via cell phone, because I understand technology and DCPS is real scarce.
Yeah.
I understand. So some things that they could use with their cell phone, and even if one person in each group had a cell phone, that they can all kind of, use
for the purpose.
Absolutely. And then again, finding your own tool to kind of reward them and keep them positively engaged. Again, whether it's tally marks on the board, whether it's, candy, just something that you are, after you praise them or after you give them a good job, boom, there's that reward right there to keep them motivated to move forward.
Okay, I agree.
Okay. But we're going to